Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to my brand new channel called HealMyTajweed, and this is part 1 of the introduction for this series as we kick off with the Ramadan 2016 special. As a warm-up exercise for today, we're going to use the Islamic greeting as I break down and analyze the phrase because it contains quite a few Tajweed rules which will be applicable when reciting the Quran. And today we're going to focus on 4 points of Tajweed only. Now here is a couple of ways that I hear people say the Islamic greeting. As-salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, or As-salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Now of these two ways, which one do you think is the most correct or has less errors, or which one do you think is actually correct? I'm going to tell you that this is actually the correct way, and it goes As-salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Now the 4 points of Tajweed we're going to cover today are as follows. Number 1, we're going to cover the letters Ain and Hamza. Number 2, we're going to cover the letter Ra. Number 3, we're going to cover the letters Ha versus the letter Ha. And number 4, we're going to also do the ruling of the word Allah. So here's a greeting again, and we kick off with the first word that people make confusion on, and that is Alaykum. As you can see, the word Alaykum, it starts with a Ain, which comes from the middle throat. And a lot of people actually say the bottom one, which is highlighted in red, and they say Alaykum, which actually starts with a Hamza. And the Hamza, for the makhraj of the Hamza, is actually the bottom throat. And I call this the Ain dilemma. So when you see a Hamza, we're actually seeing Alif. Hamza is actually Alif. But not every Alif is a Hamza. And if that sounds confusing, I promise you we'll cover more on that later, inshallah. But what I mean is, we're talking about here the Hamza or Alif versus the Ain dilemma. And these two letters are often wrongly interused. For example, in Surah Al-Fatiha, some people say Rabbul Alameen with Hamza, when it should be Rabbul Alameen with the Ain. Remember to say Alaykum, starting with the Ain, which comes from the middle throat, and not Alaykum. That's a no-no. Okay. Whereas the As-salamu alaikum, Mu alaikum, a lot of people actually say Mu alaikum. It sounds like Mu and Wa, which is completely incorrect. So do not say this. Also, a lot of people I hear, they say As-salamu alaikum, Asakum, and these are not correct way of greeting the Islamic way. So inshallah, make an effort to say it correctly from now on. Second point, we're going to talk about the letter Ra. This letter has many rules, which we are going to cover gradually. It's actually probably the most difficult letter in the Arabic alphabet when it comes to rules, but we're going to take it slow, inshallah. So the first rule I'm going to teach you today is, if you find the letter Ra and it has a fatha or a dhamma on top of it, then you read the letter Ra as a heavy letter or a full mouth letter. And in Tajweed, we call this tafkhim, which means a heaviness or fatness or a full mouth letter. So when you see the word wa rahmatu, you're going to say the Ra with a heaviness and not with a flatness. So do not say wa rahmatu. No, it's wa rahmatu. So you basically create space between the top roof of your mouth and the bottom of your mouth, and you curve your tongue a bit and you make it heavy. So your jaw drops a bit. So you say wa rahmatu, and not wa rahmatu. Wa rahmatu. Moving on, point number 3, we're going to talk about the ha and the ha in the word wa rahmatu. Now notice that wa rahmatu has ha, which comes from the middle throat, and this is often confused with the word with the letter ha, which comes from the bottom throat. So which one do you think is correct? The top one is correct. We say wa rahmatu and not wa rahmatu. Wa rahmatu, no, wa rahmatu. And a lot of people make this confusion between these two letters, and these two letters are not the same. They do change the meaning. And fourth point today we're going to mention is the ruling of the word Allah. If you see a fatha or a dhamma on the alif of the word Allah or before the word Allah, then you're going to read the lam of the word Allah as a heavy letter or a full mouth letter. And we all talked about that. It means tafkhim. An example, if you have a fatha as in Allahu Akbar, notice the fatha is on the alif of the word Allah, and that means we say Allahu Akbar and not Allahu Akbar. We do not make the lam of the word Allah flat. We say it with a heaviness. So Allahu Akbar. Another example in the word Inna Allah. So the noon this time has a fatha, which is before the word Allah. So we go Inna Allah, Inna Allah. Also be careful not to make the noon become heavy and do not say Inna, Inna, Inna Allah. No, it's Inna Allah. Now an example with the vowel Dhamma. For example, in Rasulullah, Rasulullah, again the lam of the word Allah becomes heavy because of the Dhamma before the word Allah on the lam of Rasulu. So you do not say Rasulullah. No, it's Rasulullah. Another example is Kitabullah and not Kitabullah. No. So Kitabullah. So that's what concerns Fatha and Dhamma on the word Allah or before the word Allah. What about if you have a Kasra before the word Allah? This time, if you have it before the word Allah, you read the lam of the word Allah with a flat or light or thin letter. And in Tajweed, we call this tarqiq, which means thinness, flat or light letter. So for example, if you say Kasra, as in the word Bismillah, you make the lam flat this time. And you do not say Bismillah. No. Notice the Kasra is on the meme before the word Allah. Bismillah. Another example, A'udhu Billah. And not A'udhu Billah. Not correct. We say A'udhu Billah. One last thing about the word Allah, which is the last ha in the word Allah, is often not pronounced by many. And I'm hoping this is because of unintention. So this ha comes from the bottom throat, as we discussed in point number 3. And you have to pronounce it. And when we end on a word with a ha, which has a vowel or even a sukun, then we have to pronounce it with a sukun. So for example, in the word Bismillahi, a lot of people will say Bismillah without saying the ha at the end. So we have to say Bismillah, Bismillah with a ha. Other example, and this is the ha, the bottom throat ha. Other example, Insha'Allah, Alhamdulillah. You must say the ha, otherwise you're not pronouncing the word Allah. Now let's take an example of the two types of has and ha in a phrase, and it is wa rahmatullahi. As you can see, the first ha we discussed earlier comes from the middle throat, so we say wa rahmatu, and then the last ha in the word Allah is from the bottom throat. So wa rahmatullahi and not wa rahmatullahi, no, or not even wa rahmatullahi, not correct. We say wa rahmatullahi, and again it's an application of point number 3 discussed earlier. The last word for today, we have wa barakatuhu, and let's break this down. Wa in Arabic means and, barakatuh means blessings, and hu here comes from the bottom throat and means his, so it's and his blessings. So together we say wa barakatuh when we pause on it, or if you don't want to pause, you say wa barakatuhu. Now a lot of people, again, they omit this last ha, and that's a problem which occurs a lot in the Quran and in a lot of phrases people use. Whenever there is a ha at the end, they keep ignoring it. So whether it's a ha of this word barakatuhu or in the word Allah, or when we cover later, we'll know when we do a ta marbuta, and when we pause on it or end on it or stop on it, it turns into a ha, and again people forget to say that. So this is another application of point number 3 we discussed earlier. Right, so let's say it together. As-salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Or if you want to stop on it, you say as-salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. And you can respond wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So let's summarize. Today we covered 4 points of tajweed. We discussed the letters Ain versus the letter Hamza, which is a confusion for many people. We also talked about the letter Ra with a Dhamma or Fatha on it. We read it with a heaviness. We covered the difference between Ha and Ha. And we talked about the ruling of the word Allah with a Dhamma, Fatha and a Kasra. And we also mentioned not to forget to pronounce the last Ha in the word Allah. So this was introduction to Tajweed, and when I say Tajweed, I actually think of 3 things. And the first thing is I think of makhraj, and that means the articulation points, the points from which the letters originate in the mouth. And in this example, we covered the letters Hamza, Ain, Ha and Ha. And we mentioned the importance of sticking to its correct articulation point, because the incorrect application of each will lead to a major mistake, as that will change the meaning. Here's an example of a diagram showing the various letters of the Arabic alphabet and where they stem from. As you can see, for example, the green and the letters, we have 4 letters which originate from the lips, and these are Waw, Ba, Mim and Fa. And we'll cover this in detail inshallah. But just to mention the last bit here, we have the 3 levels of the throat letters, and the top one being Ghain and Kha, Ain and Ha being the middle, and Hamza and Ha being the bottom. Okay. So second thing, when I talk about Tajweed, I think of Sifah, and that means the characteristics or the trace of each letter, which is different to another letter with the same makhraj. For example, the letters Ta and Ta have the same makhraj. They both come from the tongue. But the letter Ta, for example, is a tarqiq letter. It's a flat letter. We say Ta. But the letter Ta is a heavy letter. We have to do full mouth. Also, the letter Ta has something called hams in Tajweed, which means the release of air. But the letter Ta has the opposite, which means shadda, the entrapment of air. And again, incorrect application of these sifah may lead to major mistake, as it may change the meaning of the word you're saying. And the last thing I think about when I talk about Tajweed are the ahkam, or the rules. And in today's lesson, we discuss the ruling of the word Allah. And other types of rule will include things like qalqalah or idgham with ghunna, etc. And these are the last stage of the rulings, which makes the recitation more beautiful. So what's the plan for this course? Now this is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm going to try and stick to this format, and my next upload will include the isti'adha and the basmallah, i.e. a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim and bismillahir rahmanir rahim, when we deconstruct them the same way we did here, and I go through the rules and we correct the common mistakes people make. Following that, I would want to cover the whole of Surah Al-Fatiha. Again, as we're going to deconstruct each phrase and each sentence and each ayah and talk about the rules in each of them. After which, I would want to share with you a journey as we go through the whole of Juz Amma from Surah An-Nas to Surah An-Naba. And as the Tajweed rules occur, I will explain them to you. And I will also try to include in each lesson some common supplications in Salah which many people make mistakes when they pronounce them. For example, Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Sami'a Allahu liman hamidah, etc. Now the resources we're going to use are first a PDF book available online which is called Tajweed Made Easy, and I'm going to put the link in the description below. As far as I can tell, the last time I checked, it is still free to download and distribute, and you can find the link here. And let me see if I can go there for you. I'll go there for you after this shot. And the guys who did this also have a website called Love for Quran. And the other thing we're going to use is House of Quran, which is an application for reciting or memorizing the Quran. And again, here's the link, which I will put in the description below. Now let's try and go to the link I'm going to show you. So here's the application of the Quran, House of Quran. And the good thing about this one is I'll be able to increase the font so you can follow, and as I scroll over my mouse you will be able to see the highlighted letters, and we'll go through each of them, and if there's a need for it I will bring these words into the PowerPoint and break them down and give the Tajweed rules, and that should be available for all of you. You can also use a normal Mushaf or Quran copy, it's up to you. And here's the website. Like I said, there are the lessons that you can follow. That's a different course, but we're going to use the same resources. And let me just show you the PDF book that I downloaded, which you can get from here. It's quite simple to follow. I use this to teach children and adults, and you can have a read, but there are lessons number 1s to I think 20 something, and I may not necessarily go through each lesson as a numerical order, as in lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, because we're going to cover the surahs, and as the rules occur I will refer you back to this booklet for you to follow, inshallah. Okay, a little bit about me. So my name is Ashiq, and I am a student of Tajweed and Quranic Arabic and Bachelor of Arts of Islamic Studies with Islamic Online University. And my teachers for the theory part were Sheikh Ahmed Abdul Wahab and Sheikh Wissam El Dam. As for the teachers for the practical, there were Sheikh Mustafa Abdul Halim Muhammad Nabawi and Sheikh Mustafa Raslan, and these are my references. A bit more about me. I am a madrasa teacher of Tajweed and Quran to children and adults. Unfortunately, I'm not doing any online classes like Skype at the moment. That may change in the future. I do have a local madrasa, but with very limited space. So I'm going to leave you my email address also in the description below if anyone wants to have any queries concerning this course, nothing concerning outside of this course, or if anyone wants to know whether there's any vacancy in my madrasa. About this series, let me say that I am not a Tajweed scholar. So I'm going to be teaching you the hows, but not the whys. For example, I will tell you how to pronounce a certain phrase or a certain Tajweed rule, but not whether it's obligatory for you to do certain things in the Quran or not, as there are some difference of opinions, and for that, if you want more clarification, you should try and consult a scholar. But I would advise you to adopt this philosophy of you don't get too bogged down with whether it's obligatory or not, but you should rather try to make your best to recite the Quran as beautiful as you can all the time. Also, I am not an authority on Tajweed, and I will make a distinction between Tajweed and Qiraat. For example, do not expect me to recite like Mishari al-Fasi or Sheikh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad. I will make my best to teach you the proper pronunciation, but when it comes to Qiraat, as in the tunes and the melody, these it's best for you to follow a scholar, a Qari that you like and that you trust. Also, this is not a replacement for a Tajweed teacher. This course will be an eye-opener and it will create some awareness for both students and parents. One of the reasons I'm doing this course is because in my experience, I've seen so many students who come to me after studying up to 5 years either with a teacher or in the madrasa. And when I ask them to recite to me the first phrase, A'udhu Billah, they cannot even pass that, and I try to correct 10 mistakes in there. When it comes to Surah Al-Fatiha, again, there's so many mistakes, and when I hear them reciting, it's awful. When I take them back to the Qaida to just check on their pronunciation, like in the Makhraj, and that is also very, very bad. So while I'm not trying to make any conclusions or accusations directly, it's a general problem and it's been witnessed by many people, including scholars of Tajweed. And I would urge every student, especially every parent, to check on the recitation of their children. And if you do not know the rules of Tajweed, get someone who you trust, who's independent and get them to check on the recitation of your children, because you wouldn't want your child to waste years somewhere where they're not being taught properly. And again, if anyone is getting offended by this, I'm not making a direct accusation. And if there's any teachers out there who are watching this, and if you're not doing your job properly, then it is me reminding you, as I'm reminding myself, it is our responsibility to make sure we're teaching the proper thing, because this is the book of Allah and we should not mess with that. 90% of the students that I have come across, I have had to take them back to Qaida, and many of them have been studying for up to 5 years. So I will let you draw your own conclusion. Inshallah, let's all try to make the recitation of the Quran a bit more responsible and much better. Also, I want to point out that I am only going to be teaching you the Hafs and Asim Tajweed recitation style. As you may be aware, there are 7 ways of reciting the Quran. All of them are legal. Unfortunately, I am not versed in the other ways, although I am aware of them, but I cannot teach them. So when you do hear someone reciting the Quran, make sure you ask them which recitation style they are doing before you start telling them they're making mistakes based on this course. For example, in some recitation style, in Surah Al-Fatiha, someone can say alayhimu instead of alayhim, and that's perfectly fine. But if in Hafs and Asim, if someone says alayhimu, then that would be a mistake. Now, also about me, I am also a computer and electronics repair technician, and I have a very small amateur YouTube channel which is called HealMyPC. And here's the link, which I'm also going to link down in the description below. And I would very much appreciate if you would help me out by subscribing to both channels, even if you have no interest in computing, but I do occasionally give quite useful tips. And inshallah, that would help me a lot to continue uploading these courses for you, both for the computer and the Tajweed, inshallah. So please subscribe to my channel and also give me some feedback and comments. And if you find any mistakes, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. JazakAllah khairan for watching. This was Ashiq from HealMyTajweed. As-salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.